Hello everyone and welcome to the opening reception of our 6th annual 10 by 10 exhibit. My name is Betty Gonzalez of Arts Every Day, and I'm very fortunate to be one of the organizers for this exhibit, and this is my 4th year working with the 10 by 10, and every year has proven to be just as unique and rewarding of an experience as the last. I get to work and interact with so many talented artists and youth curators throughout Baltimore every year, and it's one of my favorite programs that we put on. This year's exhibit features over 130 works of art from Baltimore City Public Schools students and teachers, and this year we've also partnered with Maryland Institute College of Arts Curatorial Practice graduate program to bring on Nia Ricks, an MFA candidate who has put in many hours of work to help put this show together and lead our very talented team of student curators. Together, this curatorial team, who you will meet shortly, spent lots of time after school and over several weekends to bring you the show that you see today. From the curatorial statement to the layout of the show, each step was well thought out and done with intention. So we hope that you will enjoy spending time with the work today as much as we have over the last several weeks. I want to thank you all for joining us this evening as we celebrate the creativity and voices of our youth, and hope that you'll leave feeling inspired to go out and find your own joy. So for now, I'm going to pass you over to Nia Ricks, who will lead you through the rest of tonight's program and introduce our youth curators and guests. Thank you everyone and have a good evening.
Okay, everybody. Hello, my name's Nia Ricks. I'm in the Curatorial Practice MFA program at MICA, and I'm guest curating the 2022 10 by 10 exhibition, which can be viewed at Motor House during their gallery hours or online at 10by10exhibit.org. Art Every Day's 10 by 10 exhibit offers Baltimore City students and teachers a platform to explore social issues in their art. In response to this year's theme, Freedom, Dreaming, Finding Joy, participants have submitted artwork commenting on family, safe places, identity, personal aspirations, dreams, and joy. Today, our student curators will be in conversation with Ms. Cook and Zhadyn Thomas from Reach Partnership High School, who both have work in this year's show. So we're gonna start by having our curators introduce themselves. So you guys go ahead.
Hi, my name is Z. My pronouns are they, them, or he, him. I'm in 12th grade, oops. And I go to Reach Partnership High School. Also, my artistic background is mostly in sculpture and painting.
Hello, my name is Zhadyn Beckwith. I go by he, him. As of right now, I'm in the 12th grade and I go to Baltimore Design School. And my artistic background is a digital illustrator / graphic design artist.
Hi, I'm Ariyanna. I go by she, her pronouns. I am a 12th grade at Baltimore Design School, and I specialize in painting.
Hi, my name is Stanzanae. My pronouns are she, her. I go to Baltimore City College. I'm in grade 12, and my artistic background is a mixed media artist, particularly painting.
Okay, thank you guys. So next we're going to have our guests today go ahead and introduce themselves, and we can start with Ms. Cook.
Hi, my name is Callie Ehlers Cook, and I am an art teacher currently at the Reach Partnership High School.
Hi, my name is Zhadyn Thomas, and I currently is in 11th grade, and I go to Reach Partnership.
All right, thank you, everyone. So I'm gonna hand it over to Z, Zhadyn, Stanzanae, and Ariyanna. So Ariyanna, if you could get us started.
Hi, and today we're going to start with some questions for you both. Can you tell us a bit about your artistic background?
Sure, I can go first. For me, I started drawing and making art when I was like 2. I mean, basically as soon as I could hold anything to make a mark with. Although I did not major in art during college, after college, I ended up in Baltimore, and I finished an MAT in secondary English. I was an English teacher in the city for 16 years. And as soon as I was teaching, as soon as I finished my MAT degree at Johns Hopkins, I started taking courses at MICA, actually, in the like open studies area for graduate credit, just to build my own portfolio and learn some new skills, because I really love art and it's really my passion. I was a good teacher for English, and I love my students very much, but it was never a real passion for me. I started an MFA at Towson University around 2009 and graduated. I was still working full-time as a teacher. I graduated with my master's degree in photography in 2012 from Towson, and I did do my concentration in photography, but I spent some time in printmaking, and also do work with mixed media. Currently, I do a lot of drawing, and collage is kind of my current love.
Okay. Oh, okay. Can you hear me now? Okay, good. Well, my story isn't that long, but I started drawing when I was around 8, 7 years old, when both of my brothers were still living with me, and they were the first ones who noticed I had a talent for drawing, and they really pushed me to do it. But after they left because of home issues, I kind of stopped drawing until about 10th grade, when I had class with Miss Cook, and she gave me a few projects to do, and she made me realize, and she realized that I still had talent in drawing, and she really pushed me to start pursuing my long ago dream in drawing and art. And back then it was more just, scribbles on paper, but now I'm drawing stuff a lot bigger and better, like what I did for the Reginald F. Lewis show, and made me realize that I really want to take art into my future.
Thanks for sharing that with us, guys. So how did you interpret the theme of the show, Freedom Dreaming, Finding Joy?
So I did a lot of reading and learning about the 2 authors whose work the show theme was based around, and shared some videos with my students, especially a talk by Dr. Bettina Love. That was really interesting. And I loved how it focused a lot on the Black community. I do feel that my job as a teacher in Baltimore City, this is my 20th year in Baltimore City, almost all of my students have been African American, and I really feel like my job as a teacher is to elevate the voices of Black youth in the community. But at the same time, I didn't really want to, co-opt someone else's culture in my own interpretation and my own work. So for my piece, I looked at it more from a perspective of like what has brought me joy in my own life, and like where do I hope to be going. I also thought a lot about the context of finding joy in this time, after the pandemic, or still during the pandemic, where there are so many extra challenges in front of all of us right now that it becomes a journey that's much harder.
Well, when it came to my art piece, like when it came to the videos Miss Cook showed us, and the themes was like perseverance and freedom. I just kind of just let my mind went rampant. And when I did the research about my art, it was more of I wanted it to be seen as perseverance, as the 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 god Atlas holding up the galaxy, as you seen, as I colored it as like a galaxy. And I wanted it at first. I wanted it to be about life and death and freedom and nature, as in the title. But I did it when I was doing research. I wanted it to be like shown visually that there was a lot of meaning into it, because Miss Cook wanted me to put a lot of details and stuff into it, and I wanted the small. I really wanted the small details to be realized, which I'm sure you guys realized. I mean, you all realized. This is why I'm here, and I appreciate the opportunity for that.
So kind of touched on it a little bit, but I just wanted to ask you both more in depth, more about the meaning of your pieces that I actually have right here.
So for my piece, I kind of work a lot in collage right now and mixed media, and I started to look at, I've been collecting a lot of imagery recently. Some came from the old Lake Clifton building when we were moving schools, because our school recently moved to a different building right before the pandemic, and the school got rid of a ton of old textbooks that were in the building. And so some of the imagery came from like old science textbooks and literature books that had different illustrations in them that were from like the 60s, 70s, and into the 80s. And then I have also been really enjoying finding imagery from old magazines. So I will like go on eBay and get a lot of magazines, like Life magazine from the 60s, 50s, whatever, 40s, whatever I can get, and kind of mine imagery from there. So I was just thinking about the theme, and I kind of had some different images I had been gathering, and I kind of try to organize my like imagery into different like scrapbooking boxes at home. But when something really strikes me and I really like it, and I think this is really kind of calling to me right now, I'll kind of throw it in my sketchbook and then pull it out. And so I kind of just took the things that I had been thinking about recently that have been kind of like calling to me to use, and started to think about meaning and kind of organize the imagery. And that's how I work a lot. I'm not a conceptual artist at all. Like, I don't know clearly what my outcome's going to be before I start. Like, I kind of play with the imagery or the materials and then end up where I end up. And then it kind of becomes clearer then what the meaning is, or like why behind things. So I definitely included the camera lens, because photography is something that is really important to me and makes me happy and brings me joy in life. I also wanted to make sure that I allowed for there to be some representation of like struggles and challenges along the way to getting to that place of freedom. Partially, like for me, thinking about my journey into art, for a long time, it was like all I did when I was in high school, elementary, middle, high school. That's what everyone knew me for. That's what I did all the time. And I kind of got this perception as a student who also was like a good student and took AP classes and stuff. I got this perception that being an artist wasn't like a smart people's thing to do. And so when I went to college, I majored in English, and, kind of went in a different direction and kind of like focused on a different intellectual side of myself. So it was a long journey to get to where like I really could find that joy, even in the classroom. Like, I always love my students. I have students that I've, worked with years ago who are 30 something now, and like dear friends who I love very much. Our kids spend time together sometimes. like they are still in my life, but you know, and I was good at teaching English, but like I said, like it wasn't really my passion. So it took me a long time and going through a lot of obstacles. You know, I have this like the alligator kind of sitting on the side, but he's like kind of camouflaged in with the background of this like path that's running through from the bottom right. And then, you know, the door, like it's kind of looks like a door into the unknown. You know, what is it, you know, where are you going? And then it kind of, you know, comes in and like swirls into the camera lens. And beyond that, you know, there's like some imagery of just like bright colors and like pops of colors, and like some like close-up photos of crystals. And then you've got like the sky and the universe in the background. So that's kind of the background to everything, is like I'm hoping that I'm going into a place that's gonna continue to build, you know, joy, and where I'm going to continue to grow as a teacher and as an artist and a person. So yeah, that was kind of my thought process.
Okay, so basically, when I was my thought process when I was making my art piece, I first started with Atlas and the planet in the middle first, but I won't lie, I had no clue I was going to make the background. But I asked my brother about it. He was like, "What about life and death?" And he just said that, and basically on the left side would be the death, and on the right side would be life, because there's nature. Nature is pretty much the clean-cut example of life, right? And but even in darkness and in the unknown, there's still hope of freedom and perseverance, basically, which is why I put Atlas more on the left side in the darkness. But still, if he was to stand up, he would be in the light, in freedom, in life. And I added the birds to it to kind of represent, you know, pretty much like basically life. Like, I've been thinking about it for a while now, and there was a quote that I had in my brain, but I kind of forgot it. But it was a really good quote. But basically, I added the galaxy. I added the galaxy instead of just Earth because of human, like, how do I say it? Basically, how humans wanted to explore space. It's kind of like that. Instead of just putting the Earth, we pretty much know all about Earth, but we don't know a lot about space. So I put the galaxy and pretty much all of the universe in his hands because humanity wants to explore the unknown, basically.
Those are some great explanations. Moving forward into the next question. How did the size limitation affect your creative processes? Did it help or hurt in any kind of way?
For me, it was like a little constricting because I mean, I think my like natural inclination was originally in my life like to work very small, but I started to get into the idea of working larger. And I will say that when you're using collage pieces, you kind of are at the mercy of what you find, unless you're going to start, you know, like xeroxing and or taking photos or scans and then like changing sizing, which I like to use the original imagery from the original place that it was from, because like those objects of those specific pieces of paper like have a history to them that also comes into the artwork then. And I really like to work with that. So like for me, working with collage, it was fine, but it was challenging because I'm trying to find like what is the right scale of imagery and what is the right mixture of these things that I found that I like to create something that's gonna fit with the theme and also have a message in it as well. So the size really does for collage tell you a lot about what your work can be. So, I mean, it definitely was instrumental to the outcome. The outcome would have been very different if I used the same imagery, but I was working at like 18 by 24 because, you know, you're going to have a completely different composition if it's not square, and then you're going to have the work at a completely different scale if you're using the same pieces just on a larger surface. So it definitely dictated a lot of what the outcome was.
At first, my project was going to be like look completely different, but because I wanted it to match with like the eye catcher, the galaxy in the middle as he was holding up. But then as I'm working on it, I realized not everything had to match with my picture, because with my art pieces in the past, everything more so looked the same, not the same, but when you would look at it, they all had the same colors. But when I worked on this, I decided to work outside the box this time. I decided to explore into what I could do differently, which is why everything wasn't the same color. It was really colorful on one side, but just dark on the other side. And I always started small when it came to projects and never really knew what to do when I explored on, you know, the different colors, the different backgrounds and stuff. But doing this project really helped me to realize that I don't have to repeat myself. I can explore what I've never done before, and it really helps me grow instead of putting me down, I guess. And well, no, that's pretty much it.
Outside of your pieces in the exhibit, how has Baltimore City impacted your artwork, your personal artwork?
I mean, I'll say for me, there is a like an aesthetic to the city that I really appreciate and love, having been here for the time that I have. And I think about it a lot, and also like the community that I work with, you know, has really impacted my thoughts about a lot of ideas that are behind the work that I do. You know, when you talk about the art like in the city, I think about a lot of the interesting like mural work that's around the city, and some, you know, what's in Graffiti Alley and places like that, and how MICA has really fostered an art community in the city, and those areas and spaces have given me a lot to think about as I like travel through the city in the day-to-day. But it also, the question also makes me think about some artwork that I personally have that was made by an artist. I'm not sure if he's still in Baltimore now. I think he's originally from Philadelphia, but he went to MICA for his master's program, a photographer named James Singlewald. He did these amazing photographs of different abandoned buildings and like row homes in Baltimore. And like actually I have a really big piece of his that's in the room that in the house that I use for like yoga or like kind of meditation or chill out space. And I find it, you know, it's very interesting thinking about the like finding the beauty and like the things that are artistic and really interesting to look at in spaces that people have abandoned and said like this is not a worthy place for people to live, or like this is, you know, a condemned building, this is not a place, you know, where people see beauty. But like I love how in James's work, I love how he you know, takes these old buildings and, you know, and then makes them into something different by photographing them in a certain light and really showing a piece of our community in a different way than it's usually viewed. And then I feel like, you know, some of that comes into my work when I try to use materials that I find, and like in particular, I actually really enjoy finding things that are worn or used or old and like collecting those and making those a focus of my work. Um, I did a series about spaces inside schools that I worked on for like 4 or 5 years when I was a teacher at Patterson High School, in their old building that just got knocked down a few months ago. I was assigned to like be in the hallways to like monitor student movement at certain times, even though my role was like, I was a lead teacher and my role was supposed to be like doing professional development and mentoring for teachers. You know, we as teachers wear many hats, you know, and have to do a lot of different things in the community. So I would find these like places in the building where things were cracking or falling down, or there was graffiti on the wall, or there was, you know, stuff that other people would see as like trash, and take photographs of those things while I was doing my like hallway duty time. And I posted those on social media for a long time. I have a whole series of them those are very interesting. So like being in the city definitely created that work for me. And the same way with like this piece that, you know, I made for the 10 by 10 show was partially influenced by the imagery that I collected from the old textbooks that I found in, you know, the Lake Clifton book rooms that were going to get thrown away because they were obsolete, like taking things that are obsolete and like making them new. But in a way that doesn't like, not like gentrifying things or making them pretty, but like finding the beauty in the stuff that's not stereotypically beautiful.
After the 10 by 10 art piece, it really influenced how I work with other art now, because I don't hold myself back when it comes to ideas. I'm more of explorer of what I can do and my other options, instead of just holding back because if it looks cool or not. I really like, if I had my book, I could probably show you guys, but there's this one art piece that I have that when you look at it, when you first glance at it, it doesn't look like it would at all. But when you really look at the smaller details, because I really love doing the smaller details in my pieces, you can really see how bigger, like the bigger the meaning is. And when it came to my art piece, when my brother gave me the quote, life and death, it really reminded me of my friend Isaac. My friend Isaac, he wanted to be an astronaut, and he really loved space, which made me more who wanted to do that space thing. Rest his soul, but I'm getting off track. He really influenced me to do that, like really influenced me to do that galaxy thing, because he wanted to be an astronaut. Hold on, 1 second. Can you get this dog, please? Thank you. What was I saying? He really like inspired me to do that space thing, not only because humanity wanted to explore space, because he wanted to be an astronaut. And every time I look at the stars, I get reminded of him. And when it comes to my art now, I try to think of more things to put in my art, and smaller things that only certain few people look at and realize those small details, so they can be, you know, impressed by how big the hidden meaning is, basically.
Moving on to another question. Have there been any major art roadblocks in your artistic journey? And if so, how did you overcome them?
I think I touched on this a little bit already when I was talking about, you know, having this kind of feeling from society as I was growing up that like being an artist isn't like a worthy like career path or job, or like, you know, is not an academic pursuit. And so that kind of made me not then focus on art in college in my undergraduate program. And also the college that I ended up going to, their art program, you weren't allowed to take any courses in studio art unless you were a declared major, and I was not a declared art major. So it took me many years to be basically allowed to take any classes in studio art. So it wasn't until I had been at the university for like a couple years and had met people through other work that I was doing on campus that I finally got permission as like in my junior year of college to actually start taking any college level courses in art. And then, I did realize there was a lot about it that I really liked and was passionate about, but I was already on the path to graduate with a degree in journalism and a minor in political science. And, I kind of didn't know how I was going to get back to art, basically. Like I ended up, in Baltimore teaching English. And, it's funny because like when I was a new teacher, my parents, like my mom would always be like, look, I found this game about, Hamlet that your kids will love. Isn't this a cool like gift for you? And I would be like, this is stuff for my classroom. It's not like, that's not a gift for me. But like now, if my, those same people were to be like, here's like a new set of Prismacolors, I'd be like, this is like that you can take into school. I'd be like, this is the best gift ever, because I'm really in an area of something that I'm more passionate about. And it took me a while to get there. Like I had to get permission to take continuing studies courses at MICA, and then get graduate credit for those. I actually had applied to the post-baccalaureate program at MICA because I didn't have an undergraduate degree in art. And it was actually a photographer that I was working with at the time, who was Joseph Hyde, who was taking photographs of some of my larger like drawings and other artwork. He was like, your work is good enough that you could apply for an MFA. You don't need to do the post-bac program. And so that kind of like gave me the courage to apply for something that I didn't think I was qualified for at all. And then it's just like doing the work to get the credentials. And it was by getting getting my MFA is what gave me my teaching endorsement in art. And then, I was in a role that I was happy in at Patterson, where I was the lead teacher, doing a lot of professional development and teacher training, which I really am good at. And I do really enjoy working with adult learners. But when my job that job got cut from the school budget in the middle of the school year, after I had been at Patterson for 6 years, and that was like really life-changing moment. And I was like, what am I going to do? And I decided, you know what, if I'm going back into the classroom, like I'm going to use my art endorsement and I'm going to teach art. I'm not going to go back to English. Like I'm done with teaching something that I don't really, really love. And now I have the credentials. So that's kind of what pushed me to be, to look into teaching art. And I absolutely love teaching high school art. And that kind of put me back on a more artistic path where I get to like research and study and learn and share things with my students and learn from them, which is super fun.
Right. Okay. Like I said before, like the roadblocks in my journey, it was just people's opinions. But when I had trouble with them, I more so talked to people I trusted, like counselors, my mom, or basically people I trusted. And they helped me realize that it doesn't really matter what judges or pretty much people think in general. As long as you know that your artwork is good, there's nothing to worry about, basically.
So a question I have is what is your opinion on how schools handle art, specifically Baltimore Public Schools?
As a teacher at the high school level, I definitely have experienced that a lot of students don't have the opportunity to have consistent art in education throughout their years in Baltimore City schools. So often there's a really mixed bag when I have students in 10th grade. Some of them haven't had art since elementary school. Some of them might have had it in 7th grade, but not in 8th grade. Some of them had it, you know, once a week. Some of them got to have it every day. It's very varied. And I do think that we should try to do a better job of allowing every student to have access to art education. I mean, I think part of that comes from like staffing allocation, and part of it comes from funding for materials and supplies. I do a lot of fundraising myself to get the supplies to do stuff in our program. I've done a ton of Donors Choose projects, which is a platform online where teachers can get funding for projects in the classroom. I just finished a huge one that was like the biggest I've ever tried, was like $7,500 worth of supplies. And that was a very big one. It was very ambitious. But in general, you know, I would love to have another art educator position at my school. I'm the only art teacher, and most art teachers are the only one at their school. And it's hard when you don't have a team of people with different specialization areas, you know, to build as big or as like awesome of a program as we otherwise could for students.
Okay, so pretty much what Miss Cook said, like art, like during all my life at school has been really inconsistent. Like I had art about in elementary, and I haven't had art since till high school. And the way I would try to learn art on my own is just through videos or one of my friends who was also good at art. I don't really speak to him that like that no more. He would help me. He would teach me how to, you know, pretty much better myself when it came to art. And it's hard trying to get through school and try to learn art and try to make art your future when there's no class and no teacher for it. And I wish there was a way to like pretty much just set yourself in one class for the whole time you're in school. But unfortunately, I don't think there's a way.
This is a little bit connected to the previous question. How do you think Baltimore City could help influence those who are like youths that have interests in arts?
I mean, as a teacher, one thing that I would love to be able to do is just kind of pinpoint who those people are earlier in high school. I mean, I'm speaking from a perspective of a high school teacher. I generally don't get to have students for fundamentals of art until they're in 10th grade, because the 9th grade schedule is so packed and kind of set. I would love if there was enough space in the schedule for some 9th graders who really wanted to do art, to take that when they first start as 9th graders, because you know, we do offer a couple of advanced level classes, and we're going to start AP Studio next year. And I would love to have more time with those students to really hone those skills and make it almost like a track, the way that CTE programs are a track where students can, you know, graduate with their certification in a job area. Like those are great programs, but I would love if, you know, for students who are really invested in art, if we could have more programs for graphic design or other such things like that in schools.
Oh, by making more art programs, like more art programs in the summer and after school art or weekend art programs, because I feel as though if there was more art programs, more students would be interested in doing it, because if it was during the day, nobody really likes school like that, well, besides me. And nobody wants to do school during the day. But if it was an after school thing and it was just something that they truly like doing after school and not have the stress of school on their backs, I feel as though more people would be interested, and it would be more helpful for people who want to do art but can't really find the time of day to do it.
Hi, Miss. How did you initially hear about the 10 by 10 exhibit, and what made you want to participate and have your students participate?
So I first heard about the 10 by 10 show like a couple years ago when I started. So this is my 4th year teaching art. Okay. I taught English for 16 years and this is my 20th year in the system. So I really mainly started hearing about it from the visual and performing arts office at city schools. So from the folks at North Avenue who pushed out, opportunities and ideas. As a newer art teacher and someone who doesn't have a background in art education initially, like I got my teaching background is in teaching English, and then I got my art certification by taking art classes that were more like developing my own work. So I was like nervous about submitting artwork for shows on it, to be honest. Just not knowing like how to prepare it or like what to do. And last year, because the 10 by 10 show was online and we were in, a setting of being in virtual school, it seemed like a really great opportunity to get started with that program because it was much more accessible for like me to be able to get good photos of student work and submit it. And honestly, like at the beginning of this year, like I didn't even realize this was going to be part of it, but we got the like published catalog for the show that had like featured like all of our student work, and so many, like the very first full color piece in there is from a student at our school. And it's a piece that I love very dearly. And the community, like my principal, who I love very much, was like so excited to see our student work published and share it with other teachers, and my students were so excited to see their work published. And I actually feel like that really made me have like even more interest in making sure that we continue to work on putting work into the show. Because the outcome was so awesome for everybody. Like students really loved seeing their work in print. The whole community really did, and we're really motivated by it. So the other thing is that I really try to give my students as many opportunities as I can to make work that's going to be seen by a wider audience, because I think it makes it more meaningful. And then it also, elevates their voices to a point of being able to make change in the community. So that was my other reason for, taking on this show.
I heard about the 10 by 10 show from Miss Cook because it was like right after the Reginald F. Lewis show, and I was excited for it because at the time when I got the news back and I didn't get a placement, I didn't get first, second, or third, I wanted to get right into something and try something new, and it works, fortunately. And I wanted to try something new when it came to art. And sorry, I forgot what I was about to say. And yeah, I wanted to try something new when it came to art. And I won't lie, I didn't try 100% because I was still pissed after not getting a placement at the Reginald F. Lewis Museum, because it felt like losing, and I don't really like to lose, but I still put meaning into my art piece nonetheless, even if I was pissed over it or not. And I felt as though I probably could have did better, because when I look at it, I feel like I could have did more. This is always this feeling that I could do more when it comes to art, and it just nags at me most of the time. But yeah.
So, question for Jordan. How was your life impacted how was being a student during the pandemic? And also, what role did art play in your life during that time?
Oh, it was awful. Like during the pandemic, trying to do school during Zoom was horrible because all my grades, like my GPA was average at best, and then just dropped all the way down to 0. And when it came to art and I met Miss Cook, it was better. Even though it was due to the computer, I still got the materials for it and I did it. And it made me realize that this is a lot better. than, doing nothing at home, because it was hard to pay attention because I was more so just sleeping most of the time. It was hard to focus with all the distractions going on in my home, but I distracted myself with something that I love doing.
Another question for Jordan. Do you believe that all students should have access to art classes if they wish to? Like if they say your schedule is like you can't fit it in your class, but you still really want to. Do you think that they should be able to have that class?
It depends on how bad they really want it. If they want to do the class and they decide that they want to replace a certain class in their schedule just so they can fit art into their schedule, then yeah, they should be able to have the opportunity to put themselves in art if they really love it.
Well, that concludes our discussion. Thank you guys for answering all of our questions, and we're going to turn it back over to Nia to close us out.
All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much to our curators, Zhadyn, Stanzanae, Ariyanna, and Z. Thank you very much to our guests, Ms. Cook and Jordan. Thank you to anyone who's watched this video. Does anybody, curators or guests, have any closing remarks that they would like to leave us with?
Yeah, anything you guys want to shout out before we end the video?
You guys did a great job. Congrats.
Yes, great job. I have to say, great job to the curators. It's been really nice getting to talk to you and meet some of you virtually. Great work.
Some of us you've met in real life because we live with you.
That's true.
I was nervous, really. I was really nervous doing this, but after talking to you all, I got more comfortable. Oh my God, somebody's blowing up my phone. And I got really comfortable doing this because I feel like you all can tell by my first question, I kind of just was really slow, but when it came towards the end, I kind of opened up more. And it's real comfortable being here, honestly, truly.
Oh.
Last thing, where can we find you guys and all of your amazing artsiness?
So I do have a website, which is cscook, CSCOOK, photography.com. And I'm not on Instagram right now, but I'm going to get there. I have a goal to build my website a little bit more and get some more work out there, but you can definitely find me at Reach Partnership High School, teaching class Monday through Friday, enjoying being with my students.
Well, I don't have anything specific. I mean, I have my Instagram and I post my artwork on there from time to time, and I could just put it in the chat if I figure out how to do it on my phone.
Okay, so the 2022 10 by 10 exhibition, Freedom, Dreaming, Finding Joy, will be on view at Motor House from February 17th to March 27th, and can be viewed online starting February 17th at 10by10exhibit.org. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful day.